So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you all on our Zoom event for the Millennial Homebuyer. My name is Tiffany Kawada, and I'm the 2020 ARIA LA Coastal Chapter President. My board of directors and I are so excited to have each and every one of you on the call today for some really exciting content. So whether you're a millennial first-time home buyer, or you're a realtor or agent that's looking to know more about the millennial buyer, we're hoping that you will learn some really valuable information in today's session. So today's session will be in three parts. First, we'll have our millennial agent panel answer some questions, and then we will have our how to remodel or renovate on a budget section, and then lastly we'll have some lending tips by Rob Luna with Citi. So thank you so much for joining us, and yeah, we'll introduce Cindy Tran. She's our 2020 events chair and also going to be our upcoming 2021 LA Coastal chapter president next year. So Cindy will be the moderator for our first session.
Thanks, Tiff, and welcome everyone. I'm Cindy Tran. I'm Director of Operations for HomeSmart Realty Group. I've been on the board with ARIA for the last few years, and I had no idea Tiffany was going to announce that I'm next year's president, so thank you for putting me on blast. I'll be moderating today's event. So again, thank you to everyone that joined us. We're going to as Tiffany mentioned, we'll have it in a few parts, but for this one, we're also going to have it in two different parts as well. So first is, I'll be asking questions to our panel with Tiffany, Derek, and Michelle that are related to the millennial side. So if you're a buyer, these will be more related to you. And then we'll turn it over to a rapid fire section where they'll be answering questions that are a little bit more geared towards helping agents that are working with millennials. So to start it off, and if you guys have any additional questions when we do hop into Q&A, use the chat. We are in webinar style, so unfortunately you can't unmute yourself, we can't see you, so the only way we can hear you or hear your questions is through the chat box. So don't be shy, but I'm gonna start it off now with our first question for Derek. Tiffany, do we want to remove the screen so that way we can see Derek? Okay, perfect. All right, so Derek, as a buyer, I want to buy a home. What is the first step I should take as a home buyer?
So I always recommend the first step is getting pre-approved. So that's kind of speaking with the lender, talking to someone like Rob, who can go through your finances, kind of set the expectation for how much your monthly payment's going to look like, what purchase price you can achieve. And I think that's a great guide, especially if you want to buy a home. I look at it almost like a barometer. Like it tells you exactly where you are right now. And if you like that number, then great, let's go buy a house tomorrow. But if you don't like that number, we can also create strategies on how to get to the number you like, or if it's even better than you thought it would be, we can even look at lower price points, et cetera, et cetera. But having that as your first step, I think is the best way, because that way you're not looking also at, these $5 million houses that have these beautiful kitchens, and you may not be able to afford a $5 million house, which, I can't either, so don't worry. But it helps set the expectation of what you're going to be able to get in your price category too.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek. Great answer. I feel like we're on Family Feud, so great answer. Okay, so next is for Michelle. How has home buying changed since the pandemic? Obviously, the world we're in is so different, and I feel like that's definitely one of the first questions that people have. So how are you handling it, and how are other agents handling that?
Yeah, so hi, everybody. So one of the biggest things that's changed from the pandemic, oh my God, I am so sorry, happens. One of the biggest things that's happened since the pandemic and now, it's been the fact that, when you see a house before, you can just kind of schedule a time that works for you and just go. Now we're taking, our safety precautions, and now we have to sign everybody in and out, and actually have 15-minute to 30-minute increments, and you have to have your masks on, and you have to sign off on a disclosure saying that you're not infected or have been exposed. Another big thing that I've been encountering is when a buyer isn't pre-approved yet, sometimes the sellers are not letting them see the property. Sometimes they ask for a pre-approval letter prior to your visit. So that's one big change that's happened. But that doesn't mean that, you know, you don't get the same home buying experience. You definitely do, just with a little bit of a mask on. And then I know that a lot of us have been utilizing, at least as a realtor side, we've been using a lot of tech, such as it's kind of like Google for your house, Google Maps for your house. It's called Matterport. So you can walk through the house, you can look up, you can look down, and it really feels like you're in the house, even though it's a virtual screen. So just kind of something different, but we have been very quick to adapt, and we've been very flexible. So it's been a really easy transition.
Awesome, thank you. And I have gotten a lot of feedback from other agents as well that, to be honest, for some agents, they're liking this better because the buyers that they're working with are more serious because they're actually talking to lenders. They're not just looky-loos. So if anything, I think this has been a good adjustment for everyone. Next question is for Tiffany. What is the difference between a realtor and a lender? So what do you do versus what does Rob do?
So I think that, for a first-time home buyer, it might get confusing, what role each one of us plays, but kind of think of us as like a team altogether. So, the realtor more focuses on the house, finding the house. And then the lender partner obviously focuses more solely on like the financial aspect, how much income you make and your assets, your credit score, and how are you going to be able to qualify for this home. But like Derek had mentioned, it's really important to get pre-approved ahead of time, because I can't help you find your dream house until I find out what you can afford, what monthly payment you're kind of comfortable with. So if you think about it, the realtor is more, showing the property, finding you off-market deals that might not be on Zillow or Redfin, to negotiate with the seller on the sales price and the offer, presenting your offer to the seller, knowing the local market for real estate. And then while lender's job is more focused on, providing the financing guidance that you might need. So, looking at your monthly payment, looking at your monthly debt, and then how much, home you might be able to afford and how much down payment might be right for you. So although we might have separate roles in the home buying process, we really, when it comes down to it, work wholly as a team. So this is why it's so important to have, a good agent and a good lender working for you, because, once we get your offer accepted and the ball starts rolling and we have a 30-day escrow, we're on very tight timelines a lot of times and contingencies in that 30-day period that we really, I'm in constant contact with like Rob, like, hey, is the appraisal ordered? Or, we're coming up on our 14-day contingency for the appraisal. Those kinds of things, we really want to have an open line of communication all together.
Awesome, thank you, Tiff. So our next question, we're bringing it back to Derek. How does commission work? I know a lot of people are confused about who pays that. So can you dive a little bit more into that for us?
Sure. This is probably one of the most common questions I get asked. So first of all, commission. The seller pays for it all. So the seller, when they decide to sell their home, they agree to pay their agent and the buyer's agent. So that's part number one. There are some companies that kind of confuse that by saying like, oh, hey, we offer like a refund or something like that. Most notably, probably Redfin, whose app I love too. So I check it as well. But but really, they're not giving you any money. You're not paying them any money. That money is coming from the seller. So overall, like I'm a firm believer in honestly, I'm a firm believer in quality, and I think you get what you pay for. And I think working with an agent that specializes and works in the area that you're trying to buy gives you an actual advantage over other people. They'll be able to have built relationships with the agents who sell a lot of homes in that area. They will know about off markets. They know what to look for when we're going out to look at houses. So like, the best example I can think of right now is like in Torrance. Like Torrance has the soils area, and they know what the soils area means. They know how it's going to affect your property and how it's, basically over time that house is going to move. And whereas, other agents who don't specialize in the area and just kind of go one-off showings may not know that. So in the end, they're going to save you thousands of dollars that you don't really even have to pay because that comes from the seller. So that's my long of how a commission works.
Awesome. Great answer. Okay, so next we're going to go back to Michelle on why should I pay more to own when I can just rent?
So I actually also get this question asked very often, especially with the clients that I'm helping in our age range. I know people are renting often and saying, hey, we can't really buy a house right now. So my answer is, renting, it's not bad. Of course, I am okay with renting, but renting and the buying difference is renting is a short-term goal and buying is a long-term game. So most of my clientele in my age range, when you're renting, you're kind of only thinking of something within, I'm going to live in the beach oceanfront apartment that's 2 bed, 1 bath for only like 3 years at most. And then we're going to plan on having children or, growing our family, and we're going to need something else. If that is your game plan, I always say then maybe you should consider purchasing, because the whole point is if it's over the 4 or 5 years, you're building equity. You can start, paying yourself as a landlord. Your landlord can't really kick you guys out that easily. And you can also, there's a lot of different options financially that can help you own something. So I really do think that the payments, although they might almost come very similar, or if not a little bit more than what you're currently paying in the LA area, buying still, you put the money back in your pocket. So that's, again, the long-term game. If you're wanting to stay in LA a little bit longer than 4 years, consider buying.
Awesome. And it's a tax write-off as well.
Yeah,
so
there's also great write-offs.
Okay, so next we're handing it back to Tiffany. What are the top 3 things to focus on when buying a home?
Okay, so if I had to narrow it to, in my personal opinion, the top 3 things that you should focus on when looking for a home is definitely location and neighborhood. Those are things that, you want to be aware of. If you go to the house and you notice that the street is always crowded, no parking around, well, that's an indication that, when you have guests, that's probably going to be an issue. Eyesores, like, my clients will go into a property and like love everything about it, but there's a huge power line in the backyard. You're not going to be able to, that's never going to leave. That's always going to be there. You're always going to be looking at that every day, wake up to it, traffic noise, things like that, outside environment and the location of the neighborhood. Like whether if you're a light sleeper, I wouldn't suggest, buying a house because you love it, but you're right over the LAX the LAX flight path, those things you can't change, unfortunately. So although you might love the house, definitely location, neighborhood are super important things that you shouldn't overlook. Another thing is kind of the layout and the floor plan of a home. If you go into a home and let's say, it's a 2-story home and the master bedroom's on the bottom. Well, that's a little harder of a fix. That's something that is not an easy fix. Or if you go into a house and it's just a really choppy floor plan, those are not easy fixes for a first-time home buyer. So I definitely would pay attention to those things. And then the third thing is, I would say it's future potential in a home. I know everyone wants the move-in ready, totally turnkey, but if you're buying in the South Bay, it's super competitive. So a lot of my millennial clients, the homes that are always like turnkey gets like 10, 15 offers. But sometimes advising like, hey, this house is great. Maybe it needs some new paint and it could use a little bit of flooring updated. But other than that, it's, a good home. I definitely wouldn't turn your eye to those homes, like, to completely rule those out because they aren't your turnkey property. Paint, flooring, those are very easy fixes, but sometimes, buyers get scared because they're not aware of like how much it's going to actually cost them. And sometimes it's really just like an easy, not too expensive fix. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely dive into that a little bit later when we hand it over to Alex, who will talk about remodeling on a budget. So thanks for bringing that up, Tiffany. Last question for our one-person answers. We're handing it back to Derek, and we're asking, how do I know, as a buyer, how do I know I'm buying a good home?
That's a really good question. So we're going to get a little bit into like the nitty gritty of buying a house, but basically, when we find your house that you like and we decide to write an offer, the honest thing is that we're not going to know everything about the house at that point. We're not going to know about the plumbing, the electrical, the roof. So what happens is that once you get your offer accepted, we're going to do inspections. So really in the South Bay, there's a lot of different kinds that you can do, but the three main ones that most people will choose to do is a home inspection, a termite inspection, and sometimes a sewer line inspection. So during those three inspections, the home inspection is going to cover, your roof. They're going to walk over the roof. They're going to look at all the shingles. They're going to check your water heater. They're going to go underneath the house and look at the plumbing and the foundation. They're going to check all your outlets. So during that time, we're going to really be able to find out whether or not this is a quote unquote good home. Predominantly in the South Bay, a lot of these homes are built in the 50s and 60s. So there's always going to be something that we're going to find that's going to be a problem. But really what your benefit is the contract is written in a way where, if you find something that you don't like, number one, we can negotiate. We can try to get a credit. We can try to lower the price if there's obviously an issue that, we're not going to be able to fix. If it needs a new roof, that's $10,000. We may need to have a credit. But if the seller on the other end doesn't agree, then you as a buyer have the option to back out. So that's kind of your protection as well. So what we kind of use these inspections for is like a guiding light as far as, figuring out, is this a good home? Can you live in it? Can we fix up certain things as you occupy the house? Or is it something where you're gonna have to do the whole thing? And if that's the case and you can't do that, then we're gonna be able to back out so that you don't lose your deposits, you're protected, and we're gonna be able to go back and find you a house that really is gonna be the right one for you.
Awesome. That was a very great answer. And I was kind of giggling to myself because Derek was like, what a great question. But he was the one that wrote the question, which is why he. Okay.
What can I say? Set yourself up for success, guys.
Okay, so we're going to head into our rapid fire section now, which is all three of them are going to answer just as quickly as possible. And this one is more related for the agent side. So hopefully this will help a few of you that are realtors looking to work with millennials. And you're kind of like, okay, what is the best way for me to go about this? So the first question, so I guess the order will go is Tiffany, Michelle, Derek. So the first question is, what features in a home do you find your millennial clients looking for that might differ from the traditional buyer?
Okay, personally, a lot of my millennial clients are always looking for either a backyard space or an outdoor patio, because two things that they love is to either entertain and have guests over, or fur babies are huge things. Everyone wants an area for their dog.
I have to agree with definitely the dog and the babies are huge. Backyard is big. And also a lot of my clients, I don't know, I'm not really that techie, but everyone's always like, where am I going to put my TV? And I'm like, how big can your TV be? And it's huge. And so they're like measuring walls. So a good clean wall is also something that most people like.
All those things plus couch space. I got couch space, trying to figure out how the couch is going to fit into these small living rooms. That's a big one. And natural light, places to like hang their plants or have their plants grow and all that kind of stuff. That's another big one that I'm seeing too.
Yeah, I can agree with all that. I did a showing recently, and when we walked in, the TV was placed really weird. Everything else about the house my buyers liked, but the placement of the TV was the only place it could go, and they were like, no. So yeah,
Because I'm always like, can't you buy another TV if you're gonna buy a whole house? No, no, okay. But you know what? I'm also really focused on lifestyle. I'm like, your house has to complement your lifestyle, so I get it.
Natural light, because now a lot of us are working from home, so that is
Yep.
important as well. Okay, so next question for all three of you. What do millennial clients look for in an agent?
Same order.
Yes.
Okay. So I think millennial clients are really tech savvy. So they don't really want information that they can just easily Google, find on the internet. They really want that well-rounded expert that knows, about properties and about like things that may come up in the home repairs, or like simple questions like, how do I turn off my main water line or gas line in a earthquake? Things that they might not have experience in, or know about. They really want that well-rounded expert on a lot of these topics that they don't really know.
Great answer. Great answer. So that's gonna be hard to follow up with, but sorry, Dare. I think the other one is gonna be response rate. I know that a lot of my clients, you can't hide from them. If you have an Instagram, they can tell when you're on. If you're on Facebook, they can tell when you're on. So if you're not responding to their text, they can tell you're not responding to their text. So I feel like the response rate has to be top of mind, because we are in such a fast-paced industry that you got to be able to keep up.
So definitely responsiveness is one of mine too, because I think that's really key. The other thing is I think a lot of millennial clients are pretty well educated. Like if they're looking to buy a house and they're reaching out to us, like they're kind of aware of the market. Usually, like the clients I'm seeing have been looking online for like a couple months before they even reach out to me. So I think with that case is that they're also looking for someone that can give them any kind of edge, any kind of advantage as far as being able to get these houses that they really love, because they see how fast they go. So they want someone that has a strategy in place to be able to help them get the home they want.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So we have two more. We'll switch the order for this one so Derek doesn't get
Nice.
stuck having to answer last. Okay, so the next question is how to help millennial clients overcome financial challenges in purchasing.
Mom, dad, grandma, uncle. But in all seriousness, borrowing from family members is a big one right now, because the down payments are they're tough. The price point is high around here. If you can't afford a larger down payment, or you don't have those that ability or that advantage or those assets, low down payment programs are another way. A lot of people will use like money saving strategies as far as even moving home for like a year to save up on rent or stuff like that before buying a house. So I think those things are some of the ways that I'm seeing those millennial clients overcome those challenges.
Michelle?
Oh, okay. Well, you just took all of them, so just kidding. Another thing that I see that's really a common way to get yourself situated is actually people used to not. A lot of times I've had other agents tell me, oh, they're not married. So now I see like friends buying with each other, or couples who aren't married buy with each other. So that's like another way to like bundle up your money. Again, with your goals and lifestyle in mind, you save up that way.
Yeah, I think that's a totally good point, Michelle. Brothers and sisters, even I've seen helping, buy their first property. I would say mine is maybe like helping my clients who are millennials understand the common misconception that, buying, you don't necessarily need the traditional 20% down. There are lenders that do, like Derek said, low down payment, as little as 3%. And that, just making them aware that there are other options, because as a millennial, we like to enjoy, we like to travel, we like to eat at nice places. So you don't always have, $100,000 saved in the bank. So I think just kind of showing them that you don't need the full 20 to purchase your first home.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And we're going to head into our last question before we head over to our renovating on a budget. So the last question is, what strategies have you used to attract millennials to your practice and cultivate these relationships?
Is it me?
Go ahead, Derek. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
let you.
I mean, like other than like, you know, like the technology stuff or like Instagram or Facebook and whatnot, like I mean, millennials are like normal people too. Like, you know, you cultivate a relationship with like a regular person. That's how you do it with the millennial. Like, we're, you know, we want good customer service. We want knowledge and good communication. There is an expectation, I think, of, you know, being able to text or, you know, message online, that kind of thing. But otherwise, I think, you know, if you provide someone with knowledge, good service, and, you know, constant communication, I think that's a great way to nurture a relationship with anyone, and including millennials.
Again, great answer. Great answer. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question once more?
What strategies have you used to attract millennials to your practice?
Oh, yeah. So another way that I've been actually doing, so I love buyer consultations. I love face-to-face interaction. And of course, with all the COVID stuff happening, it's been really limiting, I guess. And so another way I've been doing it is actually utilizing Zoom, like how we're using right now. And I'll go over a buyer consultation that my team and I have virtually made interactive or whatever. And make sure that the buyer still gets to understand what they should be expecting, even though it's a virtual conversation.
Tiff?
Even though I'm really bad at this, social media presence, I can't really stress that enough to an agent today. I am terrible at it, but I've been getting a little better. But I will say that if you don't, you know, tell your, you know, your inner network of friends, family that you're in real estate, no one will know. So if you don't put yourself out there, show like, hey, you know, this is like me touring this new construction. I get tons of DMs like, I love that house. Actually, I was just thinking about buying, you know, that kind of connection through social media. I feel like it never fails. So definitely having some type of post or social media presence online is what I think millennials are really looking at.
Awesome. Thank you guys. And those are all great answers. Definitely helpful. If you guys are on the call and you guys are enjoying these answers and finding them helpful, leave us some feedback in the chat so that we know we're doing a good job. We do have a question in our Q&A, and I'm not sure if this is more for our millennial panel or if it should go more towards Rob later. We have a question where it says, is it really, really a good time to buy a home, especially if I have to use FHA financing and have to fight with 10 other offers? Rob, is that something you want to take over really quick before we hand it over?
Sure, I can answer that question. So, yeah, I do think it's still a good time. I mean, when you do buy a home, even though you're putting down the bare minimum with FHA, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're excluded. A lot of times in the price point that you're looking at, you're competing against a lot of other FHA offers and things that are similar. So by all means, go for it. Homes appreciate, 4% a year on average, higher in Southern California, and then you pay down your mortgage, 1 or 2% a year. So you're actually getting over 5% appreciation on average per year. So on $1 million home, as an example, you're making 50 grand just by owning a home. So it's a really good idea, I think, to own a home and versus try and time the market. A lot of people just want to wait until there's a big crash. But if you just keep waiting, you're never going to get in. And if you're ready now, I say go for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, Charles, for your question. All right. Round of applause for our amazing millennial agent panel. That was great. You guys are amazing. I guess we'll all be on here if you guys do have additional questions that come to mind later on. But I'm going to hand it over now to Rachel, who will introduce our next speaker. Thank you, everyone.
Hey guys, so I have the pleasure of introducing Alexandra Parrish. She owns Revolutionized by Design, and she's amazing. Listen to her bio. So she started working on set in the art department at 19. and was mentored by Michael Bay's production designer. She went to run a top 25 A-list design firm with a show on Bravo, and then was hired as creative director of the top staging company until she started her own interior design and staging company called Revolutionized by Design. And we are fortunate enough to have her tonight. Yay! You're on mute, but you are beautiful.
Sorry, I'm not very good with Zoom. Hi, thanks, Rachel.
You're welcome, honey.
So am I supposed to just answer these questions, or you're going to ask me those questions?
We will, sorry, we will ask you them.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're set up. Are you going to ask them, Cindy?
Rachel, do you have the questions up?
I don't.
Here, I have them up. Okay.
Oh,
Just in case. Okay, so Alex, so what are some things that people think would be hard or expensive to fix or remodel, but is actually maybe not?
Well, actually, Tiffany, you were the one that mentioned it first. Floors, actually, flooring is something that people think is really expensive to change out, but you can find inexpensive laminate flooring that looks fantastic. There wasn't a market like this for it before. Only in the last few years, they've made some really great products that look just like wood flooring. So if you have a place that has carpet or linoleum or something like that, you can change it out and make it look great just by doing that. And the other thing is paint as well. Paint is like my go-to. You're going to think that I work for a paint company behind the scenes because you can do so much with paint. And when I walk into a house that I'm going to stage that hasn't been remodeled, the first thing that I always say is, before you even spend your money on me, paint. Paint the walls because that will go a long, long way. And it looks fresh and crisp.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Just throwing on paint, like it does a world of difference. It can make an old kind of shabby house seem, wow, like, renewed or rejuvenated. Our second question was, what are some inexpensive alternatives to remodeling a kitchen? Let's say if you don't have a $50,000 budget to do a designer remodel kitchen, maybe you're working with something smaller like 10,000 or less. What are some tips that you could give us?
I would again say start with paint. So most cabinetry can be painted, and you can paint it over, put new handles on, and then I would say countertops as well, because you can get countertops at places like IKEA that are really inexpensive. And then I would next go on to maybe appliances to remodel. But any one of those things would make the kitchen feel fresh again.
Or even adding those little, like the knobs,
Yeah, the knob, that's the hardware. Add hardware. And a big one for me these days is open shelving. Take down ugly old cabinets on top and put open shelving. Again, you can get those IKEA floating shelves for very inexpensive, and they look fantastic, and it makes the kitchen feel really open.
That's great.
Okay, so let's see. So what are some trends that millennials kind of lean more towards than the traditional client? Like maybe paint colors or color schemes, flooring type?
Well, again, I would say more color. So there are two things. I mean, it depends on if you're talking about, the home or furnishings. So, with the home, colored trim is really in right now. And it's a nice way, again, and an inexpensive way to make a pop in the house, you don't have to have a big expensive piece of art, but if you have trim that is painted out in a fun color, it will draw the eye to that. And that I'm seeing that they love color. Everything used to be white, and now you go into a lot of houses and there's a lot more color happening in houses than there have been over the past like 5 or 6 years. And what was the other question? There was one more, wasn't there? Wait, it was trend. Oh, and then furniture. So with furnishings, again, I think the trends that millennials are doing is they want things to be sustainable, and that's they don't want stuff that can just be, that fast fashion kind of furniture, even though sometimes that's where the budget lies. But I find a lot of them going out to vintage stores, recovering things, and, mixing it in with those pieces, a few pieces of the fast fashion. But I think that millennials really, they're conscious of waste, and they don't want something that is just going to be thrown away. They're thinking about the future of the earth.
That's interesting. So by covering a couch, you can buy a cover to fit your exact size of your couch. Like, do you have custom made, or are there just couch covers? And then how does that like look nice? Like, keep the same lines and whatnot? Can you give us some like tips?
Well, yeah, there are many different options with that. With buying if you buy a sofa that was made in, the 60s or 70s that has a really strong frame, you can either have it reupholstered rather inexpensively, find the fabric yourself.
Okay.
There are a lot of like slip covers, but again, slip covers tend to be a little more soft and fluffy. A lot of people want things that are a little more tailored looking today. So I would say go for upholstering. You can find in most neighborhoods, there's an upholstery shop right around the corner, and you can have it done. You can buy a brand new, couch for $1,200 at some places, and you can find one, on Craigslist for $300 and spend another $300 having it reupholstered and have something that last even longer.
Interesting.
What about
You're like, why didn't I do that?
so what about paint colors? Like, I notice, a lot of bold kitchens now have like maybe like a forest green or dark blue kind of hues. Do you see a lot of trends?
I do, yeah. The greens and the blues. One of the realtors that I work with, every house she goes into, you're going to see dark blue trim in that house. And you're seeing a lot of black, but it's not, the stark black. It's more of like a greenish black, a warmer, softer black coming in. There's some kind of romanticism, I think, coming back into homes. Especially now that we're spending so much time in our homes. People don't want it to feel so sterile. They want to be much more comfortable and relaxed in their home. Because you're sitting up here and you can see me from here, but I got my pajamas on down below. So we're spending a lot more time in our home, so we want it to feel much more soothing to us, I think. So yeah, the colors are warm. That's what I'm saying anyway.
Definitely. Let's see. Do we have any questions from the audience that you would like to ask Alex?
Any questions coming up? No. I could ask tons of questions.
I know you can. Ask away.
Okay. So like design on a budget for a kitchen, because someone might need to remodel a kitchen. So let's say you keep the countertops the same, but you like put a backsplash up, like change the backsplash to give it a little more pop. Or like you said, open the cabinets or put floating cabinets. Would that give it like a whole new kind of look, or help me?
Well, I'm gonna actually change it to one of the things that I always tell people. I mean, I know we're talking about houses, but with furniture, one of the things that can change the feel of a room is the pillows. So yes, by just changing the backsplash or just changing the cabinet color and the hardware, the knobs, you can have an entirely new feel in the room. I can't tell you how many times people are like, and I go in and I'll change the pillows and like change out a piece of art, and it has a completely different feel.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty easy to transform without having to do everything.
Huh. What's your favorite room?
My bedroom.
Really? Okay. So do you enjoy designing bedrooms like the most, or do you enjoy designing living? Like what?
I think the thing that I enjoy doing the most are the living spaces. I think that I love doing living rooms.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that you see typically when you walk into, most houses, not these huge houses, but, a standard house. That's the first thing that you see. And I want it to be inviting. And, it's funny when people are talking about the TV, I in a lot of living rooms when I do staging, I actually face the furniture in a way where not towards the TV wall, because in my own house, I've got a 70-inch TV in my bedroom. I don't ever watch TV in the living room. It's from my bed, and for millennials, like the whole Netflix and chill, I kind of, steer towards that direction. And with with bedrooms, when I design bedrooms, this may be too risque for here, but one of the things that I like to do is I want people to walk in and think about what they might be doing in that bedroom. So I wanted to have kind of a sexy, feel to it. Because ask any realtor, you want people to walk in and feel like they could do anything in that property. And that's that's one of my taglines, I guess.
That's cute. Okay. So we'll have you over. You can redesign the room and the kitchen, of course.
We'll start in the living room, sweetie.
Okay. We'll start in the living room for sure.
I have a question for you. So this is more related to outside area. California is so dry. So a lot of the houses, you'll look outside and it's just patches of dirt. And then it's hard to envision an area you can host in or whatever it is. How easy is it to change that space, and what are things that they can do on a budget as well for that?
Well, because again, just being, conscious of water conservation, we're in a drought, we're in fires right now. So one thing that a lot of people are doing is they're taking out the grass, they're putting in decomposed granite, you border it with some stones or some bricks, and you make a nice area there. You can add some plants throughout, or potted plants for color, and then do, a nice seating area with a fire pit. You can get a fire pit for, you can buy a barrel, a half a barrel at Home Depot for $20 and throw some wood in it and make a fire pit. So, an outdoor, and especially if you buy a house, some of the older houses, the 2-bedroom houses, they're 800 square feet. They don't have a dining room. So doing an outdoor dining area, I think, is key. And we're fortunate enough to live in an area where you can dine al fresco almost all year round. So I recommend that to people as well.
I like that.
Awesome. All right. Well, if there are, hold on a second. Let me check. Okay. We do have some questions in our Q&A. So we'll go through these quickly. Sorry, we didn't realize this, and then Rob will hand it over to you. So Erin is asking, are there any secret tips or tricks to make a small/dark room feel bigger and brighter?
Well, yes, one of my favorite things in the world to do. I use mirrors all the time. I love using mirrors as reflective surfaces to bring in the outdoors. I use them, opposite a piece of art, so then you get double the use out of a piece of art. I love using mirrors. I'll use 2 of them together. It really opens up the space, and it will bring in light, especially depending on where you put it, and you put the light near there, or if it's near a window, it'll double that light.
Awesome. Okay, next question is, what sort of things are actually especially hard or expensive to remodel so that the agents can look out for and potentially avoid?
I think somebody mentioned the roof. I don't know. I wouldn't call that a remodel, but again, full remodels of kitchens, bathrooms, or I actually am working on a remodel right now. I just started with these clients, and it's going to be a pretty big remodel. And they want to add another bathroom somewhere, and with the line of the house and what we can do, we need to push a wall out to the exterior about 6 inches, to have enough room. And to me, that's a lot of money for 6 inches. I wouldn't recommend doing something like that, like moving an exterior wall for such a small space. So we're trying to find, move the furnace instead of moving a wall.
Awesome. Last question. What is a good rough estimate for vinyl flooring per square footage?
For vinyl flooring, there's actually a really good one at Home Depot, and I think that you get it's in sheets or planks, and I think a box of, I can't remember if it's 100 square feet. It's like $40 or $50. It's really inexpensive. It might be more than that. You get quite a big area. Maybe it's 200 square feet, but it's like $40 or $50 for that. So that's Home Depot. Check out Home Depot.
Awesome. Okay, so we have one more, and then sorry guys, we got to stop.
What was that, $2 a square foot, I guess?
Um, what are good recommendations to style a home chic but keep it kid friendly?
Okay, believe it or not, using white fabrics are great for kids, especially if you can take the covers off and wash them because you can bleach them. I always recommend like using some kind of canvas or linen that can be washed for kids. And again, making sure that there's surfaces. I wouldn't use. I don't use glass. I don't like to use glass a lot myself anyway, but not glass. Surfaces that can be, make sure they're not veneer. So if they need to be sanded down and refinished, they can be. But I think it's important to make sure that the covers can come off.
Yes,
Speaking of somebody with a kid and a bunch of animals like that.
exactly.
It's really
Awesome.
important.
Okay, thank you so much, Alexandra. That was amazing and super helpful. It really related to a lot of things I've been noticing, especially showing my buyers around as well. I think we do have a few more questions, so we'll circle back to you if you want to hang tight. I think there are some others if you can. Otherwise, I'm going to introduce Rob Luna now, who Citi is hosting this event. So thank you so much, Citi, for working with us and ARIA and supporting ARIA every year. Rob, I'm going to do your introduction now. Rob Luna is a producing lending manager for Citibank and has been working as a mortgage professional since 2003. Whether you're buying your first home or investing in real estate, his mission is to give you the best possible home loan experience. While every situation is unique, he'll work with you to weigh the options and find a home financing solution that fits your goals. So thank you so much, Rob. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Cindy. So yeah, I just want to start by talking about some things that I think are really important. So if you're going to take a note on something, I think this is the most important, which is basically how to manipulate credit scores, because we go all through college and things like that, but they don't teach us really important things like how to really boost our credit. So credit can really make or break your loan to where you may or may not get approved for a certain loan that you want, and you can get better rates. So to get the optimal credit score, you need to have 4 credit cards. I wouldn't recommend going out and getting a bunch right now if you're trying to buy a house, because that can have a negative impact for the first about 6 months of getting those cards. But I'm just giving you an idea for the long run of how to have the best score. You want to have those cards paid down to different percentages of 70% and above is maxed out, 50%, 40%, and below 30% is as good as paid off. So it's best to pay off the card right before the statement comes due, because if you have a $10,000 credit card and you run it up to $8,000 every month and then pay it off, it actually seems maxed out when the statement comes out. So you got to pay it off right before it comes out. And the difference between having a maxed out credit cards versus not, it may manipulate your score up to 100 points. So if you don't have enough credit cards, ask mom and dad if you can be an authorized user on their card. That can boost your score, maybe from like 620 to 680 in a matter of a month if you get added to 1 or 2 cards. So I also want to share a presentation that I have, which is, you can guys see that, right? So there's a couple different things that we can offer, and any lender can for this matter, but you can get a pre-approval or a pre-qualification. So a pre-approval is basically you went all the way through underwriting, you supplied your W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, stuff like that, and you've gotten a full loan approval before even finding a property. This can actually help you out if you're doing a minimum payment down. That can almost make you look as strong as cash, because they know that the loan is solid, they're not going to have any issues, and you can actually have a short closing window. So it really puts your offer ahead of others in that aspect, versus a pre-qualification is something where we just run your credit, run you through an automated underwriting system and say that you're going to be good for the loan. So you want to know how much you can buy and what you can afford. So the easiest rule of thumb is whenever you're looking for a house and you want to figure out the payments, there's tools and stuff online, but as a general idea, take whatever the home value is and then kind of cut it in half for the monthly payment. So $1 million house will basically have a $5,000 a month payment. $800,000 house, $4,000 a month. That includes taxes and insurance. But you do want to figure out if you want to buy a duplex or a condo, because the condos can have some HOA fees that get tacked on, like, you know, $300, $400 a month. So that can add up versus a single family. It's nice to have the multifamilies because you can rent those into rental properties later on, potentially, and you can have income from other units to help you out with the mortgage. So you can get, you know, a duplex that's twice as expensive as a home because somebody else is paying the other half of the house for you. So it's a good investment. As far as documents we need, I kind of went over that. It's just income, pay stubs for 30 days, 2 years of taxes. If you're self-employed, we looked at 2 years of taxes on that, 2 months of bank statements. If you are getting a gift from a family member, that can be used as well for down payment. And that can just be looked at right at closing. So you don't have to have that in your account ahead of time in most cases. But sometimes with some loan programs, you do have to contribute a minimum of, say, 5% of your own funds. So you just got to look out for that. The minimum down payment loans going up to $765,000, you can get the whole thing as a gift. So you don't necessarily have to have your own money to get this done. If you've got somebody really nice and sweet that'll give you a gift for the down payment. The payment breaks down between principal, interest, property taxes, and insurance. You've probably heard of PMI, or private mortgage insurance, or MI. That is generally something, whenever you don't put down 20% on a home, you have to pay this extra expense to a lender for a loan. And there are loans that can avoid that if you don't have the 20% down. You also have to get homeowners insurance, which is like if your house catches on fire, that's what covers it. We're kind of short on time, so I'll just breeze through these. An APR is just a calculation of your interest rate plus closing costs divided by time. So if you're comparing two lenders that are both giving the same interest rate, you might want to look at their APR. Whoever's got a lower APR has lower closing costs. There's variable interest rate, which is also called adjustable rate mortgages, or ARMs. That can be advantageous because you can get a lower monthly payment if you're only going to live there for 5 years. Say you can get a 7-year ARM or a 10-year ARM, give you a little bit of a buffer to have the rate guaranteed for 7 or 10 years, and then it won't change. And it does change after that. But if you're selling the property, it'll keep your payments down. Rate locks, you can lock in a rate because interest rates can vary daily, just like the stock market can. So it's good to lock in a rate once you do find a home, but you can't lock it in until you do find a home. And discount points, those are premiums that you pay to get a lower rate. Most people don't want to pay premiums to get a lower rate because it doesn't pan out, but those are just some terms that you'll hear. And the different loan programs, I kind of went over those. The FHA is the 3.5% down loan. A VA loan is for veterans, up to 100% financing. And there is a program that we offer where you can put down 3 or 5%, generally 5%, because this program goes up to $765,000 for a loan. But on this particular program, it's called a home run, and you can put down the 5% as long as you're within approved census tracts and avoid the PMI. And the rates are really good. I mean, you might end up something like 3% on a 30-year fixed or below potentially. So those areas are highlighted in purple on this map. So looking at this map, it's low to moderate income census tracts. If you are interested in this kind of program, I can give you this information directly. I'll put up my contact information at the end of this. But you can see these different pockets where it cuts off where this program does qualify and does not. So you have to, I could give you this tool, you type in the address that you're looking at, and you can kind of go street by street if you really zoom in to where it puts the names of the streets up, and you can figure out what areas you can buy with that program. With that program, you get $5,000 towards closing costs. Closing costs, usually those are like 1 to 2% of the purchase price. So you don't always have to pay those yourself. You can take a higher rate and have the lender pay it, or you can have the seller pay it as well. So it kind of gets financed in. So if you've got 5 or 10 grand in closing costs, you can ask for the purchase price to be raised 5 or 10 grand, and you kind of just finance it in that way because the seller nets the same in their pocket. So they don't mind doing that ever. So I'll put up my contact information. But if anybody has any questions, I can go ahead and take those now.
There is a question, Rob. Aaron asked, what are the current interest rates being given to millennials right now? And how much will that save us in the long run compared to the standard interest rates before the pandemic?
So the rates right now are the lowest they've ever been. So it's really a great time to buy. And we do forecast that rates will stay low for the next year or so, which will make home prices continue to go up, because as long as rates stay low, affordability is good. So I think home prices will continue to go up, and it's good to lock in the rate now. So you might get something around in the low threes on a 30-year fix. That's kind of more of a going rate. Sometimes it's possible to get you the high twos, just depending on your situation and what you're putting down. So we do have one program as well where you can put down as little as 15% and get up to a $2.3 million house. So, and that has no mortgage insurance, even though it's just 15% down. So there are ways to get around this whole mortgage insurance thing. You can use your 401k, you can get a loan from that, so you don't have to have a taxable event for down payment. And one last thing I also wanted to mention was about student loans that a lot of us may have, or hopefully are trying to get rid of. But usually we'll just go off of the income-based repayment plan, so they won't hit you with a higher debt than that.
Awesome. And then we do have one other question as well. What are factors that increase or decrease the interest rates? So I think that was actually kind of related to the one that you just answered as well.
Okay. Yeah. Down payment and credit score.
Okay. And then is the interest rate for a duplex owner occupied the same as single family rates?
It's very close, but usually with a duplex, you might have to put down a little more. You can actually use the FHA program to do that, and you can go to a higher loan amount. So I believe it's around 910 for the loan amount with 3.5% down. So you can get up to a 950 purchase price, but yeah, you still might be around 3% even on a duplex with a program like that.
Awesome. I think that's it for questions. Do you have any other closing remarks you want to add, Rob, from Citi or anything?
No, that's pretty much it. So
Thanks so
you
much,
guys,
Rob.
yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Tiffany, do we have anything else we want to cover before we hand it over to Wendy?
Nope, let's give it to Wendy and then I'll kind of chime in at the end.
All right. Wendy, are you ready to go with the raffle? There we go.
Hi.
Hey.
Again, I was having another conversation with me on mute. Yes, I am ready. Hold on, I have the lights kind of dark in my, looks like I have a spotlight on me. Okay, yeah, so I have everyone on there. The only thing is I have a question to whoever our participant is that just signed in with the 310 number. I need a name. The 310-951-8233. Yeah, I just said your full number. So who's hopefully it's a realtor. Anybody want to share their name with that, or we're just gonna keep it the mysterious caller?
Maybe you can just type in their number as their name for now, and then if they win, claim it. If not, we'll.
Okay. All right,
Oh,
mysterious caller.
$25 gift cards for the 2 winners. Okay.
Yes. Here we go.
Oh, Wendy, do you want to share your screen?
I can't. I'm on my desk screen and I'm on my iPad here.
Okay,
sorry.
No
We'll
worries.
just press you, right, Wendy?
Yes.
Click the browser button in the bottom left.
Oh, goodness. Give me a second. Come on. It's having me download all this. Sorry, folks.
While you do that, I want
Technical
to share something
issues.
kind of funny. So I have one of my millennial buyers on the call, and I'm in a group chat with him and his wife. And Alexandra, after you mentioned the windows, he sent a text in the group chat saying, "Babe, we need to buy mirrors and art." So I thought it was funny that they're like already ready to go and definitely taking your advice. So
What is going
I
on
will
here?
chime in on the millennials clients that I'm helping versus my, I guess, older traditional ones. People aren't scared to do their DIYs. They are ready to get that hammer and they're ready to go. It is brave. It is inspiring. They're not scared. And I feel like maybe because they have YouTube now and this and that they can do it. And I have seen so many people DIY whatever they want to, and they'll tag me in it sometimes. They'll be like, "We did it. We told you we're going to have that piece of art on this wall," and they do it. Or they knock down walls where I'm like, "Don't tell me anything."
Oh
I
my
don't know if
gosh.
they're doing it permittedly or what, but they are not scared. And I really give it to, I praise
are you all right, Wendy?
No. It's making me download all this stuff
You don't
and
have
it's
to,
not working with me.
you don't have to download anything. You can just pull up the
I
name.
click start. Like
I'm sorry.
I did the, oh goodness gracious. Sorry, folks. How's everyone day going so far? Yes, great.
it.
How many of us are in here, ARIA members? Anybody want to like sign up right now and we'll give you an additional card because of my inconvenience?
Are you having to type the names in right now?
Yeah, I have to type everyone's name again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You know, this is awesome technology.
Continue with any Q&A then, I guess. So Wendy will give you like 2 minutes to
Please.
out. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's okay. We're used to this world. This is, this happens. So hang tight if you guys still want a chance to win a $25 gift card. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. Tiffany, is there anything else that you want to discuss, or are there any other questions for anyone? Does anyone have any questions for Rob, for Alexandra, anything? Oh, actually, this question was answered, but I do want to just share it just in case anyone else was wondering. So Jeff had a question earlier. He said, how much does it cost to put in large sliding doors to the backyard? Rob did answer, and he said a standard double sliding door is about $1,000, and extra large doors are very expensive, like $5,000 to $10,000. So if anyone else was wondering about that, that question was asked as well in Q&A. And let's see. Okay. We're getting a lot of good feedback. So thanks to everyone who's in the chat box, just thanking us for how helpful this webinar has been, how eye-opening it's been. They're really grateful for all of the answers. Someone was also agreeing that social media is definitely key. On that note, did you guys want to add, someone's asking, can Rob explain about the APR again?
Yeah, so the APR, it is your interest rate. So let's say your interest rate is 3% and your closing costs are $5,000. So the way that it's calculated is they'll actually take the $5,000 and then divide it over the life of the loan. So it comes out being something like a 3.1 APR. However, if there was zero closing cost at all, then there would be a 3% interest rate and then a 3% APR as well, because you're not adding any additional fees to be financed in over the life of the loan.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks, Stephanie, for asking a question. Wendy says she's ready, so we'll give her another chance. Wendy, I'm going to unmute you now and ask to start your video. All right.
Did you unmute her?
Trying to.
There we go. It's awesome. How many of you guys enjoy Zoom? Raise your hand. Okay, so I'm ready. I just put first name, so I hope there's not too many of the same names. Okay, so here we go. All right, here we go. The winner of our first gift card is, where's it gonna come up? Dawn.
Dawn?
Yes, I have Dawn. I'm sorry, Dawn. I didn't put your last name.
Congrats,
Go super
Dawn.
fast.
Yeah, Dawn Welch, I think, right?
Yes, she's on the call.
Yep, she's on the call.
Awesome. Okay, one more, correct?
Yeah, wait, quickly. So Dawn, if you want to message in the chat your email, then we will send you a follow-up on where to send your gift card. Okay, go ahead, Wendy.
Okay, next one. Be ready, because you know my computer's slow as forever. So Maria. Yay! Is she on the call? Do we have lucky winners present still?
Yes,
I just did it. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yay.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you to our awesome board of directors, our events chair, Cindy Tran, for helping put together this event. Thank you to our speaker, Alexandra, and thank you to Rob Luna with Citi. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope that you found this information super helpful, informative, and that you learned a few tips for the millennial buyers. So thank you again for attending, and we hope to see you at our next webinar session.
Thank you.
There was one more question.
Oh, what's that? Oh.
Yeah. Has there been a spike in buying interest due to the work from home?
Oh,
That's a good one.
It's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah. So on the lending side, I've seen a lot more people apply. A lot of people are actually looking to buy second homes in resort areas to where they want to do them as Airbnbs. So on that front, I've seen it. What about on your side with real estate?
I would say, for me personally, with my clients, yeah, there's been so many of my buyers that were kind of sitting on the fence. When the interest rates have been dropping lately, they're like, hey, now's the time I need to get into the market. And they see this as a great opportunity to buy their first home. So I don't know about you guys, Derek, Michelle.
Same. Very, very similar. I think that this definitely came at a time, or the interest rates dropping came at a time where everybody was already on the fence from last year. And this just kind of pushed them over because their purchasing power just increased significantly. And I think they were able to really feel comfortable with the rents not decreasing at all, and their mortgage being, again, very similar. I think that really helped the buyers that were on the fence of, should I pull the trigger now or later? They're like, let's do it now. It won't hurt us. So I am seeing a lot of that.
All right, was that the last question?
So thanks, Rob, for catching that.
And
yeah, the whole working from home, I've noticed with buyers as well, they want that extra loft space when they're looking. So when we were talking about like what are people looking for, they want like the extra bedroom or loft so that they can now work from home. And then that adds as well to Derek mentioning earlier that natural light that comes into the house. And everyone all of a sudden loves plants too, right? So that natural light for all of their plants that they're trying to keep alive.
We're so bored too with the pandemic. We're all just sitting at home. So it's like, I'm tired of watching the same Netflix shows. I'm out of them. I've binge watched them. So now it's just like you're looking on the apps and stuff like for home. So you're just shopping and there's nothing else to do. So
I know that a lot of my buyers too, if they're looking for the single family, they're always looking for detached garages, which became really kind of a newer trend, I guess. But detached garages they're like, we can make it a man cave or a she shed or my office. And again, millennials aren't scared to do the project, so they want it.
Oh, do you want to talk about ADUs or accessory dwelling units to where you can convert stuff in
Yeah,
town
I
locally?
mean, I can briefly discuss it, or Derek, you want to briefly discuss it?
ADUs?
Yeah, ADUs.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing. At least for right now, what I'm seeing as far as being able to rent out your home, have some kind of additional cash income, and have honestly, I've seen some of them just use it as a place to work too. So not necessarily a place for them to have cash now, but for have cash later. But for right now, when everyone's working from home, using it as a second office or even like that kind of situation as well.
Or renting it out. I've seen people rent out their ADU office spaces.
Yeah, that too.
So just for clarity, Los Angeles passed a law allowing you to build an extra unit on your property because of the housing shortage. So it is legal to do that, and you can kind of avoid the permit process to make it not so much headaches and add some value to your house as well.
Awesome.
Treasures at the end right there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. That was our first, I think, ever Millennial Homebuyer event. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Great job, Tiff and Michelle and Derek and Alexandra and Rob. Thank you, Rachel and Wendy and everyone else that was involved and for everyone that participated. All right, Tiff, I'll give it back to you for any closing remarks.
I think you did it perfectly well. Yeah, thank you again, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Guys, have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.